I like to start off with a poem that I always like to say because it's really indicative of how I feel in my journey and my process of growing up. It goes like this. I too am America. I am the darker side. They sent me to the kitchen when company came, but I laughed and ate well and grew strong. For I'll be at that table when company comes. No one will dare say to me, go to the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be too ashamed. I too am America. Good afternoon, 3Point Foundation. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I'm so happy that you young people are doing well, healthy, and being safe. I grew up in Boston, and I attended elementary, middle, and part of my high school years in Boston. Part of my high school years in Boston public schools. I graduated from Newton North High School and off to college to an HBCU, Hampton Former Institute, now it's University, and it's in Virginia. Once completed, I returned home to Boston to join my family and raise my son as I began my 27-year career with the Boston Police Department, in the neighborhood and city I love and still live in today. Upon return, I realized that my family and my neighbor's family, particularly in my community, Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester, were experiencing the disconnect, violence, and disparities that we are experiencing today. The police department's focus was on fighting crime, and the majority of the efforts occurred in my community. At that point, with the reluctant support of my parents, but the enthusiastic encouragement of my ex-husband and best friend, the police detective, I took the police exam, joined the police academy, and was hired as an officer. In my mindset, I was going to be the change I was looking for in my community. This was the changing point in my life, in the lives of thousands of young people who I came in contact with, in particular from my community. I made up my mind that I was going to be a part of the solution. During that time, the former mayor, commissioner, as well as the school superintendent realized we could not arrest our way out of a problem. A doctrine of community policing arose. As a young police officer, I was able to make a difference in my community with some of the same partners that you young people are affiliated with today. It was with individuals from organizations like probation, like DA's office, like Mike Kuzo's Roxbury Youth Works, like the Urban League, like the NAACP, like the ACLU lawyers, like school administrators, educators, in the formation of the street workers, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA, and let's not forget the clergy. We all sat down at the table together and worked hand in hand together to construct, facilitate, and participate in programs such as Operation Nightlight, Operation Ceasefire, DYS Reentry, Youth Police and Partnership, and my total heart, Operation Homefront. All of these people, humans, came together literally at the table as concerned citizens. We all were able to forget our titles and individual responsibilities to work together as concerned citizens, working in unison, one for our people and the larger community. We are at that time again, young people. A famous poet once wrote, "If you don't know your past, then the future will repeat." As you consider recent discussions on restorative justice practices and disproportionate rates of arrests in marginalized groups, I'd like to share with you my vision as the recently appointed Chief of Safety Service for the Boston Public Schools, School Police moving forward. My plan for the department moving forward promote changes that stress partnership, prevention, and problem solving as core principles in a redefined role and approach to public safety in the school environment. These benchmark principles will serve as the foundation for formation for reform-minded changes to administrative practices, trainings, and operational strategies. I plan on innovative approaches that stress community and student engagement through intervention and supportive lenses, restorative justice models, youth enrichment, and flexible training for the staff. This will further support development of safety service as a partner in the education of our children in the 21st century. I look to the future of our department as a proactive, service-oriented unit that promotes partnership, prevention, and problem solving and use enforcement as a last option. I repeat that, and use enforcement as a last option. We will work with BPS and city partners to reposition the department as a productive and efficient contribution to the education and safety of students and community. Our community members. My 54 officers and 18 superior officers are unarmed and licensed as special police under Rule 400 of the Boston Police Licensing Unit. We have jurisdiction, including the option to arrest, on all property owned or controlled by Boston Public Schools. We closely collaborate with all administrators to provide a safe and productive environment for all students, staff, families, and partners. We observe students' arrivals, their transitions throughout the building, and dismissals. But more than that, we are an integral part of the fabric in the school's community culture and environment. We serve as coaches, as mentors, as instructors, as educators, even while ensuring that all come and go safely. We establish a recognizable image that has fostered a sense of familiarity and stability for more than 55,000 students. In my short 12 weeks, I've begun to instill the core principles of positive engagement and self-empowerment. We embrace a new philosophy that centers on relationships, prevention, and community. This shift in the narrative will promote the department as a partner in the shared responsibility of educating and protecting our children and the community. I have a story to share with you. It was a sunrise. A troop of Girl Scouts gathered for their annual hike in the woods. They began the 15-mile trek through some of the most scenic grounds in the country. About mid-morning, the Girl Scouts came across an abandoned section of railroad track. Each in turn tried to walk the narrow rails. But after a few unsteady steps, each lost her balance and tumbled off. Two of the Girl Scouts, after watching one another fall off the iron rails, bet the rest of the troop that they could not both walk the entire length of the track without falling off even once. The other girls laughed and said, "No way." Challenged to make good on their boast, the two girls jumped up on opposite rails. They reached out and held hands to balance each other and steadily walked the entire section of the track without falling. Maybe we're struggling to develop and sustain our team, our departments, our community, our relationships. It could be that we are still attempting the narrow rails of community building and communication development alone. Team, and together develop a purpose. Let's grab hold as a team and together develop a purpose. a mutual commitment, and a shared contribution, we will achieve what others see as impossible and make it possible. I look forward to working with you collaboratively, as it is my belief that we all have the same goal: a safe, a stable, a supportive environment for every student, administrator, and partner in our schools and in our community. Thank you.